All right, here we go. Take notes. Graphing sine and cosine. All right, we're still in the very beginning parts of understanding how all this works. You're not familiar with the equation. It's going to be really complicated. We're going to start really easy, but we have a lot of information, so you have to understand all of this. And even though right now we're not graphing them yet, you're going to start looking at and getting familiar with the equations. And even though you're not going to know what amplitude means yet or period means yet, when you have these numbers and then it's your turn to graph it all out, these values, this amplitude and this period has to be correct. If that's wrong, like the whole thing's wrong. It's like it doesn't even matter. So you have to make sure you get this right. Okay, so this is period and amplitude. And again, I'm not going to explain what it is on this video. Later for the graphs, I'll explain it. Right now, I just need you to get these correct values, the correct numbers for period and amplitude. Okay, so actually I'll put amplitude and period. Okay. I should put how to find, right? How to find amplitude, how to find the period. I know you don't know what it means, but just understand these little parts now. After, you cannot make mistakes here. Okay, so we're going to look at the function, and since we have sine and cosine, I'm kind of going to do like a little split window here, right? I'll work side by side here. You could do the same thing on your paper. I'll be working with sine on this side and then cosine on this side, right? So this will be sine. This will be cosine. And you're going to see a lot of similarities, and that's why I want you to see these side by side, right? Okay, so let's get familiar now with the function. The function for sine, and there's a couple of ways that you'll see it. In the book, it kind of shows it one way. When I'm looking at these worksheets, it shows it another way. But essentially, and again, there's more to this. There's a lot more to this equation. You're just seeing the most basic form of it. Is going to be for sine, f of x is equal to a sine bx. Okay? And for cosine, you're going to see f of x is equal to a cosine bx. And just understand that, again, we're using an x and y axis. This is the x over here, so we know we've seen this before. F of x stands for y, right? Y is equal to a sine of bx. And this one's going to be also, this is y. Y is equal to a cosine bx. So the sine and the x are going to kind of be there. And the cosine and the x are going to be there. But these are the values that you're going to get. This is what you're going to have to find out. What is this a value? What does that number mean? What does it represent? And also this one here. And the same thing for cosine. And I'm going to tell you now. A whatever number is there, whether it's positive and negative, the amplitude is always a positive number. So the absolute value of A, so that is the amplitude. If you got a 3 here, the amplitude is 3. If you have a negative 3 here, the amplitude is not negative 3. You take the absolute value. So that's what the little absolute value bars tell you, that the amplitude is always positive. Okay? Later, I'll explain what a negative means. Just don't worry about that right now. And the same thing here, obviously. The amplitude has to be a positive value, so that's why you use the absolute. That's what this first number here you'll see in front of the sine function or the cosine is your amplitude. And even though I know you don't know what that means right now, I just need you to know that number. Just get the number. Later, you'll see what it represents in the graph. Okay? Now, this b here, this number, this is gonna be a number, not gonna be a letter, this is gonna be a number, okay? This number, this value that you're gonna see here is not your period, but you're gonna need it to get the period. So there's a quick little formula, period, to find the period for any of these curves that you're graphing. All right, let me box this. The little formula is 2 pi divided by this value of b. To find your period, you have to do 2 pi and divide it by whatever number's there. Whatever this b is not your period. You have to do 2 pi divided by b. And whatever that is, that'll give you your period. Okay? And the same thing's true here for cosine. This number is not going to be your period. Your period is, you have to do this same little formula equation. You got to get 2 pi and divide it by this number that's here. That's b, right? And that's how you find the period. Not too bad, huh? All right. And you'll see this like this in the book. Okay. On the book, you'll see like this. On the worksheet, though, let me tell you what it's going to look on the worksheet. It's going to look just a little bit different, okay? Don't let it throw you off, okay? On the worksheet, which is, the assignment, the equation is not going to look exactly like this. Okay, it's going to be just a little bit different. Don't panic. Everything else is still the same. On your worksheet, the only difference is they changed this x. They don't have x. On the worksheet it says y is equal to a sine b, and then they have theta. It's the same thing. Just treat it like x. It's the same deal. You're gonna be worried with this anyways. You only worry about the a, which is the amplitude, and you're just gonna look at this. This is for your amplitude, this is for your period. It's the same thing though. This is the only thing new, right, on the worksheet. Instead of an x, it has this little theta, right? Because now some of them are gonna be in radians. Okay, same thing for cosine. Y is equal to a cosine b theta. That's the only thing new. Sometimes you'll see a theta, sometimes you'll see a x. It's the same thing. It's just like here. Sometimes you'll see a y, sometimes you see f of x. It's the same thing. All right? So you don't worry about x or theta. You're just gonna look at this, and you're just gonna look at this. Okay? All right. So let's jump into some of these examples. Yeah? And I'll mix it up. I'll put sometimes x or sometimes theta. Okay. So here we go. I'll do sine and cosine again, just side by side. All right, number 1 here. We are find the amplitude, right? For each function, find the amplitude and period. That's it. We're not graphing it. or not, you don't even know what to do with these numbers. I understand that you don't need to know that right now. You just got to get these correct. You got to get these correct values so that when we do graph, everything's fine. If you get these values wrong, these numbers wrong, it doesn't even, the graph doesn't matter. It's going to be wrong. Okay, number 1. Y is equal to 3 sine of 3x. And number 1 over here, y is equal to 4 cosine 5x. Okay? Again, don't worry if it's x or theta. You're just going to look at what? Y is equal to 3 sine of 3x. Here's your A. Here's your B, right? Okay. So, what does this one stand for? Your amplitude. Your amplitude is this number. It's always a positive. If you see a negative there, you take the absolute value. But here, that tells me that the amplitude is what? Is 3. Yeah? Does that mean the period is 3? No. No. Here we got to use that little formula. Remember, to find the period, there's a little formula you have to use. Period is equal to what? 2 pi divided by the value of b. And here the value of b is 3. So what's my period? Well, period for this graph would be 2 pi over 3. Okay? That's it. That's all I want you to do for right now. Just understand that. You got to get the correct amplitude. You got to get the correct period. Okay. Cosine. We got y is equal to 4 cosine 5x. Oops. This is my A and this is my B. Well, this one's easy. The amplitude is what? 4. If it had a negative here, you better not put negative 4. This is always positive. And here's your value of b, but that's not your period, right? The period is what? How do you find the period? You have to do this little quick little formula here, this little 2 pi over the value of b. And the value of b is 5, so I put a 5 there. That means that the period is what? 2 pi over 5. And this can't reduce, always check. It's fine, leave it like that. I need you to get the period and the amplitude correct. Well, those are the first ones. Those were so easy. Don't think that's it. There's a lot more, and it's going to get more complicated. So continue with the notes. Number 2. Let's look at number 2. I'll go quicker now. So y is equal to negative 2 sine of 4 theta. Number 2 over here for cosine, y is equal to negative 3 cosine 2 theta. Okay, again, don't let this throw you off. Just pretend it's an x. Just leave it alone. You're not worried about all that anyways. You're just going to look at A and you're going to look at B. Same thing here, A, B. This is your amplitude, but it's negative. Remember, amplitude is never going to be negative. So here my amplitude is what? Well, you take the absolute value of that. It's always positive. It's 2. And here B is 4. I know B is 4, but I need that number for that formula, right? For period. Period is equal to what? 2 pi divided by the value of b. And that means I put a 4 right there. That means that the period is 2 pi over 4. And always check, you can reduce that. So really the period, I'll just put P. P is equal to what? Pi over 2. We're here. Amplitude is what? Not -3, always positive. Amplitude is what? 3. Here, that's not your period. You have to use this formula for the period. Period is equal to 2 pi over the value of B. Here, B is what? Here, B is 2. If B is 2, and I put a 2 right there, that's going to be period P is equal to 2 pi over what? Over or divided by 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 cancel out, or they divide out. That means your period is what? Just pi. Okay, a couple more. Number 3. And they're going to get it a little bit more challenging. Okay, y is equal to sine of theta over 3. And number 3 over here for the cosine. Y is equal to 2 cosine 3 theta over 5. Ugh. Well, if this x, remember it can be an x or it can be this theta, this little angle symbol here. If you see it like this and you don't see it off to the side, you might want to rewrite this. I hope you understand that there's a 1 right here. So really this is y is equal to sine of 1/3 theta, but they just kind of put it up here, right? This is the same as 1 over 3. See, the 3 is in the denominator. And the same thing over here. This is going to be y is equal to 2. Oh, actually, this one you can kind of see it. The fraction is 3 over 5ths, but they just put it up there just to make it complicated. It's really 3/5, and the theta's out here. Okay, but they just put it together like that. All right. What is the amplitude here? What? There's no number there. What? Is it a 0? No. What number is there when there's no number written? Amplitude is what? 1. Right? There's a 1 right there. You don't write it, but it's there. And B is 1/3. Uh-oh. B is 1/3, but that's not your period. I need that to use it in this formula. Period is equal to 2 pi divided by 1/3. How do you do that? Well, leave the pi off to the side. This is 2, which is 2 over 1 divided by, right? Divided by what? 1/3. Remember this when you have a fraction divided by another fraction? The first one stays the same, which is 2 over 1. And then this changes to a multiplication and you do the reciprocal of this one. Remember that? So really you're going to get 2 over 1 times 3 over 1. That's 6 over 1. That means that you get 6. Okay, so that's for this one. The period is 6. Okay, let's do this next one. Same thing over here for the cosine. Amplitude, I got it. That's not too big of a deal. The amplitude is 2. And here my value of B, which is not my period, but my value of B is 3 over 5. I got to use that in this formula to find the period. Period is equal to 2 pi divided by 3/5. Ugh, right? Because the B goes in the bottom. Oh, it's 2 pi over B. it's 2 pi over b, right? 2 pi over b. But if the b is 3/5, it's 2 pi divided by 3/5. Again, oh, you know what I forgot? I'm sorry. What did I forget over here? Let me go back to this one. I forgot the pi. Remember the pi over here? Forgot to leave the pi. Forgot the pi. Over here, the period is 6 pi. Yeah, let's not forget the pi. Again, but I know the answer is going to be something with a pi, but I got to work out the 2 divided by 3/5. That's 2 over 1 divided by what? 3 over 5. Well, that's going to be 2 over 1 times 5 over 3, right? You do the reciprocal. So the period on this one is going to be what? What do you get when you multiply 2 over 1 times 5 over 3? Well, 2 times 5 for the numerator is 10 over 3. That's your period. Okay, last one. Last one. And again, I'm giving you enough examples because I don't want to just give you the easy ones, and when you do your assignment, it's all the hard ones. Here we go. Number 4. Y is equal to 4 sine 2 pi over 3 theta. Number 4 for cosine is going to be y is equal to negative cosine pi over 4 theta. Well, we know which one's A. We know which one's A over here and B. Well, don't worry about that. Okay. Here the amplitude is what? I'll just put A. The amplitude is 4. Here is a negative 1, but your amplitude cannot be negative. Oops, sorry, let me focus. There's a negative 1, but remember the amplitude is always positive. Your amplitude is 1. Amplitude is never negative. And the work that you're going to have to do here is the period, right? Period is equal to 2 pi divided by this value of b, which is here. And here you're going to have the period is equal to 2 pi divided by the value of b. And check this out here. It has a pi where the other ones didn't before. You have to use that. So that's going to be period is equal to 2 pi divided by what? Well, I got to write this. 2 pi over 3. You got to carry the pi with you when you see it here. Here, the period is going to be what? 2 pi divided by what? Pi over 4. Well, let me do this one first. Remember, here's your division. Here's your division. So this is the top. 2 pi is 2 pi over 1 divided by what? 2 pi over 3. That's going to be 2 pi over 1 times, and then you do the reciprocal of this, 3 over 2 pi. Well, what happens here? The 2's divide out, the pi's divide out. The 2's cancel out, the pi's, again, they also divide out. What's left? 3 over 1. So that means that your period is what? Just 3. All right, this one here, last one, let's see. Again, this is what? The 2 pi, which is 2 pi over 1 divided by what? Pi over 4. Got to get this correct period. That's going to be 2 pi over 1 times what? The reciprocal of this, 4 over pi. Well, these will divide out. What's left? 2 times 4? 8. So your period is 8. All right, there it is. We're going to practice this. You got to learn this well, or else you're just going to be lost this whole unit. There's a lot more to this. You guys better get this correct. Okay, good luck.